Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 102 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Divine Emperor Jiku. The red-robed youth Kaishan couldn't help but ask, we are also planning to transition to bloodline cultivation. What is the difference between refining a world-level primordial bloodline and a high-level primordial bloodline into the body? In the dark sacred realm, many have refined high-level primordial bloodlines and possess rich experience. But when it comes to refining world-level primordial bloodline, currently only Divine Emperor Jiku has succeeded in the dark sacred realm. You should all know, said Divine Emperor Jiku, who usually wouldn't bother, but now spoke openly, the bloodline path is generally recognized to have two major risks. One is the influence of bloodline will, and the other is that bloodline comprehension can distort one's self-awareness, effectively a form of memory contamination. All present listened attentively. Luo Feng was quite interested as he knew very little about the bloodline path. Most cultivators in the dark sacred realm redeem high-level primordial bloodlines. Divine Emperor Jiku explained, some even merge multiple bloodlines into their bodies. However, in truth, each additional bloodline brings an additional bloodline will. The bloodline path is best specialized in one, Divine Emperor Jiku stated, which is why I chose to redeem the world-level primordial bloodline. Even if I become a high-level primordial life form, I still wish to specialize in this single bloodline to strive for the world-level primordial. But the bloodline will of world-level primordial bloodline is stronger, the memory contamination is more severe, and the potential excavation is more difficult. Perhaps I made a wrong choice, Divine Emperor Jiku self-deprecatingly remarked, perhaps the high-level primordial bloodline suits me better. I might have overestimated my abilities. Is merging multiple bloodlines necessarily bad? Luo Feng asked. There are also those who merge multiple bloodlines. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch also chimed in, those deeply researching the mysteries of bloodlines, comprehending profoundly, can even merge multiple bloodlines into one to form stronger bloodlines, thereby achieving world-level primordial. Such instances are few and rare, only by thoroughly understanding bloodlines can multiple be merged. Divine Emperor Jiku looked at Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, and Kaizhen, if transitioning to bloodline cultivation, still focus on specialization. Bo Xiu and the other two nodded. Luo Feng Divine Emperor. Jiku looked at Luo Feng, now, I've encountered too many obstacles in excavating my bloodline potential, could you give some guidance? In terms of bloodlines, my understanding isn't as comprehensive as you two. Luo Feng smiled. Dragon 9 and Jiku both began to speculate. This Luo Feng Divine Emperor is likely on the third invincible path, the Fusion Dao. The first two paths would require a strong concern for bloodline cultivation information. Ensuring enough information is gathered. Luo Feng Divine Emperor, I believe you've surely researched primordial bloodlines and studied many materials. Jiku Divine Emperor inquired, if it were you, how would you excavate bloodline potential while cultivating primordial bloodlines? Dragon 9, Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, and Kaizhen all listened intently. An invincible level cultivator's mindset would undoubtedly have an impact on them. If it were me, first, find a compatible primordial bloodline, observe its detailed secret pattern map, and delve deeply for an extended period. Second, merge with the physical body. After merging, observe the impact of the bloodline mysteries on the body. Based on the changes in the body, infer the functions of these bloodline secret patterns. Combine the two to enhance the understanding of the bloodline. Finally, follow the most common practice in the cultivation world, submit to the bloodline instinct, and excavate bloodline potential, Luo Feng explained. I've tried comprehending, but can't see through it. Jiku Divine Emperor shook his head. Luo Feng understood too. High-level primordial bloodlines are beyond Jiku Divine Emperor's comprehension, and the world-level primordial might be entirely unintelligible. I've heard that if spiritual will can break out of the braided cage, it can suppress bloodline will to a certain extent, allowing deeper excavation of bloodline potential, Luo Feng mentioned. But my spiritual will can't break out of the braided cage. Jiku Divine Emperor admitted helplessly, is there a good method to break out of the braided cage? Cultivating at our level, the spirit has already undergone much tempering. Dragon 9 Daoist monarch stated, the only way to enhance spiritual will left is through the improvement of one's path, which will yield an elevation of spiritual will. But my path can't improve anymore. Jiku Divine Emperor looked at Luo Feng. Do you know that high-level primordial life forms also vary in size? Luo Feng directly stated, why can those of massive size maintain such a form? Do you know the root cause? Dragon 9, Jiku, Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, and Kaizhen all were intrigued. They had all understood the differences in body sizes from the intelligence on high-level primordial bloodlines within large primordial halls. Some that are extremely large have spiritual consciousness that can command such vast physical bodies. This is because of having a special mind consciousness system. Luo Feng described, it is far more profound and efficient than the normal consciousness net we form. You can research high-level primordial bloodlines, stripping away other mysterious interferences and focusing on the mind consciousness system. Luo Feng explained, study multiple types to accumulate experience. When the mind consciousness grows larger, the spiritual will more easily breaks through. Luo Feng could feel the perfection of his mind consciousness system making his mind consciousness rapidly grow and hinting at a will transformation, even feeling this breakthrough was increasingly imminent. So Luo Feng emerged to seek this spiritual awakening. Mind consciousness system. Research high-level primordial bloodlines? But also strip other mysterious interferences? All five present felt somewhat perplexed upon hearing Luo Feng. Jiku couldn't help but say, I can't distinguish which are mind consciousness systems and which are other mysteries. I just feel these secret patterns are a jumbled mess, I can't even fully discern my own path, which I specialize in. High-level primordial bloodlines are too difficult. Dragon 9 Daoist monarch agreed, with low-level primordial bloodlines, we can still categorize mysteries and study them carefully. Luo Feng gently shook his head, the level primordial bloodlines don't possess a powerful mind consciousness system. This statement left Jiku Divine Emperor, Bo Xiu, and the others rather disappointed. There are no shortcuts to cultivation. Researching the so-called mind consciousness system alone requires thoroughly dissecting high-level primordial bloodlines. If one can dismantle and categorize high-level primordial bloodlines for study, upon spending sufficient time, they can thoroughly understand and match themselves with a high-level primordial bloodline, thereby attaining high-level primordial life. Our spiritual wills are inadequate, our comprehension is insufficient, and even our ability to excavate bloodline potential is lacking. How can we break out of the braided cage? Jiku Divine Emperor shook his head. Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, and Kaizhen also understood the situation clearly. Relying on bloodlines to break out of the braided cage at least requires satisfying one of three conditions: willpower, comprehension, and the ability to excavate bloodline potential. But perhaps the last item of excavating bloodline potential remains elusive. Luo Feng Divine Emperor. Dragon 9 Daoist monarch asked, I wish to inquire, is there any method to comprehend paths I'm not proficient in? Comprehend a Dao one is not good at. Luo Feng asked in surprise, since you're not good at it, why spend so much effort? He was focused on what he excelled at. Like the path of matter, Luo Feng felt he had some talent there, otherwise, he couldn't have explored the perfect divine body by himself. But clearly, he excelled most in the paths of life and destruction, with the highest efficiency. Is there a way? Dragon 9 Daoist monarch pressed on. This was a question he had asked many cultivators. He would not miss any opportunity to seek advice. Luo Feng thought for a moment before responding, in enlightenment, there are no shortcuts. There is only one path, thick accumulation leads to thin release. If you cannot comprehend, it means your accumulation is insufficient. Dragon 9 Daoist monarch was stunned and nodded. Bo Xiu, go and let the two friends in, Luo Feng said with a smile. One is called Flame Wind God Emperor, and the other is Thunder God Emperor. Bo Xiu immediately understood. He knew from Yuan Xiong Palace Master that Luo Feng came from the land of origin, and he also knew about the few divine emperors who emerged from the land of origin. At this moment, in front of the cave mansion's garden, over 100,000 cultivators had gathered. They were bustling about, waiting for the invincible presence, Luo Feng Divine Emperor, to discuss the Tao. The primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor were in a corner, and in the dark sacred realm, they counted as the lowest level in strength, hence their position was also the most remote. Flame Wind God Emperor, Thunder God Emperor. Suddenly came a voice. The gazes of more than 100,000 cultivators fell upon Bo Xiu Divine Emperor. Everyone knew that among the three followers under the command of the invincible presence, Luo Feng Divine Emperor, one was Bo Xiu. Both primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor were a bit bewildered. Was the call for them? The title of Thunder God Emperor, in the dark sacred realm, there were certainly not just a few hundred, but perhaps even 1,000. Maybe it was just a common name? But addressing both Flame Wind God Emperor and Thunder God Emperor simultaneously. It's calling us, primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor had spotted it, seeing Bo Xiu Divine Emperor flying towards them. Luo Feng Divine Emperor invites you two inside, Bo Xiu Divine Emperor said with a smile. After all, as fellow natives of Luo Feng Divine Emperor's homeland, naturally, he had to be polite. All right. All right. Though primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor had gone through a lot, at this moment, under the gaze of over 100,000 cultivators, and with even the weakest among these cultivators being on par with them, the pressure on them was naturally quite significant. With all eyes on them, the two were escorted into the inner garden. Why would Luo Feng Divine Emperor summon those two? Those two, I could tell at a glance, one is a half-primordial bloodline cultivator, and the other is a late-stage Divine Emperor Enlightened One. Why were they summoned? With so many pinnacle beings here, is it their turn? Didn't you hear? Luo Feng Divine Emperor invited them himself, which means Luo Feng Divine Emperor already knows them. The cultivators were buzzing with discussion. Inside the garden, primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor entered the vast garden, and this garden was much larger than the cave mansion they had bought. Although they owned some special life remnants and other treasures which they could sell, and could be considered a bit wealthy, having weak strength meant every expense in the dark sacred realm had to be carefully calculated. Thus, they saved where they could on living arrangements. Brother Luo Feng, they have been brought, Bo Xiu said. The primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor saw it. A man in black clothes and black hair sat centrally in the main seat. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch and Divine Emperor Ji Ku sat below him. Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, and Kaizhen sat more towards the edges. The black-haired man turned his gaze towards them. Primogenitor Yang Feng, Thunder Ancestor, long time no see, Luo Feng said with a smile. The pressure on primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor was immense, and their hearts trembled. Luo Feng Divine Emperor, just call me Flame Wind. Luo Feng Divine Emperor, my original name was Xiu Ma, please call me Xiu Ma. Both primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor immediately replied. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng laughed and introduced, only a few divine emperors have emerged from my homeland, the Source World. In the dark sacred realm, it's just me, Flame Wind, and Thunder. Speaking of which, these two are my seniors. So they are from the same homeland. Divine Emperor Jiku and Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch noted the names Flame Wind and Thunder. On this day, primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor, who were originally insignificant in the dark sacred realm, had their names quickly discovered by various intelligence forces and were soon known to many cultivators. Their martial prowess was average, but they had an extraordinary point: they were fellow natives of the invincible presence, Luo Feng Divine Emperor. Luo Feng, as an invincible level existence, finds it difficult to meet a rival beneath the primordial. If he utilizes the primordial bloodline, he can easily break free from the braided cage at any time. Naturally, Luo Feng's mindset has also changed. In the future, he pursues a better method to break free from the braided cage. As for the cultivators of the dark sacred realm, Luo Feng is willing to help them. He also harbors goodwill towards the two divine emperors, Flame Wind and Thunder, from his homeland Source World. Sit. Luo Feng pointed to the side. Flame Wind and Thunder were flattered and also sat aside. In the current setting, their strength was indeed somewhat weak. Flame Wind, Thunder, have you encountered any confusion in your cultivation? Feel free to speak up. Even if I can't answer, I believe the others present can offer some insights. Luo Feng said with a smile. Flame, wind and thunder indeed had many confusions. Previously, they were weak and unqualified to consult with pinnacle-level existences. I also exchanged for a high-level primordial bloodline, Sky-Eye Thunder Beast, to excavate bloodline potential, but the harvest was minimal. Thunder immediately said. What method did you use to excavate potential? Divine Emperor Jiku asked, as the cultivator who has delved the furthest into bloodline excavation in the contemporary dark sacred realm, naturally has the qualification to guide Thunder. Thunder immediately began to narrate. I attempted to induce with various thunder powers. The tens of thousands of cultivators in front of the cave mansion garden finally awaited the appearance of Luo Feng Divine Emperor. There he is. Luo Feng Divine Emperor has appeared. These cultivators were somewhat excited as they saw a man with black hair and black clothing emerge first, followed by Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch, Divine Emperor Jiku, and then Boshio, Bai Yin, Kaijin, Flame Wind, and Thunder. These cultivators suddenly felt an incredibly terrifying aura emanating from the black-haired, black-clothed man. Boom tilde 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 tilde. Heaven and earth shuddered. Rules twisted. The surrounding space began to grow dim and dark. All cultivators felt that in front of this black-haired, black-clothed man, they would be easily torn apart. Luo Feng's aura was released and quickly retracted. The cultivators present also instantly fell silent, not daring to make a single noise. I am Luo Feng. The black-haired, black-clothed man looked at them, smiled, and said, my cultivation time isn't considered long. The confusions in cultivation among all of you, I also don't dare say I can resolve them all. Today, I will simply share some of my cultivation experiences, hoping to inspire you all. Thank you, Luo Feng Divine Emperor. All the cultivators respectfully saluted. They all understood. An invincible existence doesn't need to guide them. Being able to guide them is a great grace. Please proceed with your questions. Luo Feng said. May I ask Luo Feng Divine Emperor, besides the known bloodline ultimate awakening, there are other methods to break free from the braided cage? A cultivator asked. Luo Feng looked at Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch beside him. They had spoken earlier, the bloodline issues would be answered by Divine Emperor Jiku. Many hidden pieces of information would be answered by Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch. Enlightenment issues would be answered by Luo Feng. The ways to break free from the braided cage are broadly divided into 3 methods. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch said, 1 is Bloodline Ultimate Awakening, 2 is Mastering the Source World Origin, directly becoming the Master of the Source World. 3 is Break Laws with Force, ascending from half-primordial level directly to become a primordial lord. How many ways are there to master the Source World Origin? A cultivator pursued the question. The Source World Origin contains various Great Daos. You only need to leave a soul imprint in more than half of the Great Daos to hope to master the Source World. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch said with a smile, the Source World Origin consists of at least 9 Great Daos. So, you need to cultivate at least 5 Great Daos to the second realm of Godly King. At least excel in 5 Great Daos? And it also has to align with the Source World's Great Daos. Everyone present knew that it was extremely difficult. Excelling in 1 Dao is the most common. Excelling in 2 Daos becomes quite rare. In the Dark Sacred Realm, there are altogether about 1,000 pinnacle-level existences. Excelling in 3 Daos? It's even rarer. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch has caught the attention of Lord Starlight precisely because he mastered 3 Daos to the half-primordial level. Starlight specifically helped him choose a compatible source world for reincarnation. Even if one excels in 3 Daos, achieving the second realm of Godly King in an unfamiliar Dao is still extremely hard. I excel in life, destruction, and life and death 3 Daos. However, the source world does not simultaneously contain these 3 Daos. Luo Feng knew this. To comprehend at least 5 great Daos that the source world happens to possess, and all to the second realm of Godly King, is a huge challenge. A vast world group seldom finds one. Besides mastering over half of the great Daos, there is another way, through spreading faith. Dragon 9 said, By spreading faith in the source world, when every creature within believes you are the source world's master, then the source world's origin consciousness will also recognize you as master. However, spreading faith method is even more challenging than mastering over half of the great Taos. Are there other ways to become the master of the source world? A cultivator pursued further. If you are born in a particular source world, even if you break free from the braided cage, you won't be rejected by this source world. Dragon 9-Day Oyster Monarch smiled. If you can become a world-level primordial through the primordial bloodline, then you can spend a long time gradually refining the source world origin. Or if you use break laws with force, directly becoming a primordial lord, refining the source world origin of your homeland can be instantaneous. The cultivators present understood. Either rely on certain methods, like mastering over half the great Taos or the faith method, to control the homeland source world. Or rely on strength. After becoming a world-level primordial or primordial lord, they can refine the homeland source world. How to break laws with force? Another cultivator asked. Jiku, Dragon 9-Day Oyster Monarch both looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng said, Senior Yuan and others have said that comprehending the primordial level path is about mastering the highest level of power, allowing one to break laws with force and directly become the most powerful primordial life. We have long comprehended the half-primordial level Tao and felt it was perfect. Adding even a trace more is considered a burden. So how can we comprehend the primordial level Tao? One cultivator wondered. The three primary methods to become a primordial life are bloodline awakening, master of the source world, and break laws with force. Break laws with force is the most difficult, Luo Feng said. In the godly king stage cultivation, although one is also groping in the dark, every progress feels like an enhancement in strength, Luo Feng said, yet, ultimately, this groping is within the braided cage, making it somewhat smoother. Breaking through from the half-primordial Tao to the primordial level Tao. That is breaking out from within the braided cage to beyond it. On the basis of the half-primordial path, continuing to add mysteries doesn't feel like it enhances strength. One doesn't know if the path they are groping for is right or wrong, Luo Feng said. Without an increase in strength, groping blindly like this is truly cultivation in the dark. One must grope out a complete, primordial level Tao in the dark. Luo Feng looked at the cultivators present. In my opinion, if you can't comprehend more than 70% of the high-level primordial bloodline, then don't even think about breaking laws with force. All the cultivators were stunned. They had previously been envisioning breaking laws with force. The highest difficulty? Groping blindly in the dark? But who knows, maybe with good luck, one might just discover the primordial level Tao. If one can comprehend 70% of the high-level primordial bloodline, they can harness the power of the primordial bloodline and directly become a high-level primordial life, one cultivator said. Breaking laws with force has no luck. Luo Feng looked at them, comprehending at least 70% of the high-level primordial bloodline is merely, in my view, the first requirement for breaking laws with force. True, breaking laws with force is beyond my reach and must have requirements many times higher than what I said. Because Luo Feng had studied too many low-level primordial bloodlines and many types of high-level primordial bloodlines. He had already attained some understanding of primordial lives that have broken out of the braided cage. He even researched the Eye of Life and Death, Star Tower blood-colored scale with the Wisdom Book, an Eye of Life and Death. Luo Feng had a vague understanding. Once one comprehends the primordial level Tao, they can master the highest level of power. Therefore, the primordial level Tao should not be weaker than the primordial ancestors' bloodline mysteries. Not inferior to the Star Tower's one piece of blood-colored scales mysteries. Luo Feng knew the level at which the Star Tower blood-colored scale resided. If the primordial level Tao is on the same level as it, then his half-primordial life and death Tao is still far from it. I vaguely suspect what level the primordial level Tao is at. But now I can only look up to it from afar. Luo Feng knew he was still far from it. In his view, the threshold of comprehending 70% of the high-level primordial bloodline, what he said was already very low, meant to keep most cultivators from having extravagant hopes. If you can't understand the high-level primordial bloodline, still thinking about breaking laws with force? Purely a waste of time. This discussion on the Tao lasted 3 days. An answer was made by Luo Feng, Divine Emperor Jiku, and Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch concerning methods to break out of the braided cage and some perplexities about the Tao. Luo Feng mainly addressed questions pertaining to the paths of life and destruction, and declared his incompetence in other paths as they were unfamiliar to him. Bo Xiu, Bai Yin, Kaizhen, and many other peak-level beings also deliberated on the Tao one by one. Luo Feng, Long Ju, and Jiku listened attentively, as each had their expertise. After 3 days, the discussion concluded. The cultivators left satisfied, having gleaned much from this discourse on the Tao. From these 3 days of Tao discussion, I, too, have gained insights. Luo Feng returned to the large primordial hall. Surprisingly, there were cultivators who had witnessed the war between the innate primordial life camp and the cultivator camp firsthand. Due to his relatively short cultivation era, compared to other cultivators who lived long and experienced much. It turned out some cultivators were originally from the Shell Valley World Group. Later, the Shell Valley World Group fell. Numerous cultivators from the Source World were relocated to the Dark Sacred Realm. There were also cultivators who encountered their home Source World being devoured by the innate primordial life. Those cultivators could only extinguish their home avatar immediately, thus becoming cultivators without a home Source World. It seems that the cultivator camp is completely at a disadvantage. Senior Yuan and other seniors have also released more treasures for cultivators to exchange and purchase, Luo Feng thought. In the early period, the treasures available for exchange and purchase in the large primordial hall of the Dark Sacred Realm were relatively few. However, as the war situation worsened, more treasures were released. I still have more than 30 million merit points unredeemed. I can take a good look at what treasures Senior Yuan and the others have actually prepared. Inside the large primordial hall. To tour all the collections once requires 1 billion primordial crystals, quite expensive. Luo Feng casually paid, and immediately a female puppet lifeform arrived by his side. She had short silver hair, eyes shimmering with gold, and her smile naturally carried a touch of allure. Cultivator Luo Feng, I will lead you to view the entire collection of the large primordial hall, the silver-haired woman said. I don't know what you'd like to see first. Let's see the primordial prisoners. Luo Feng was very interested in these living high-level primordial lives. The large primordial hall has a total of over 30,000 high-level primordial lives imprisoned. These are all spoils of war captured by our cultivator camp, the silver-haired woman said. I will guide you to observe them one by one. The silver-haired woman and Luo Feng walked deep into the large primordial hall, where space-time transformed with each step they took. Luo Feng noticed in the distance a fiery and fierce figure within a space cage. Flames surged from its entire body, and even its breath carried primordial force. It was climbing with irritation, looking distantly at Luo Feng. Just being stared at by it, Luo Feng felt an inexplicable tremor in his heart. The gap is huge. The breath it exhales could turn me to ashes. One claw from it, and even thousands upon thousands of me would be annihilated. At this moment, Luo Feng was very certain. His own energy reserve of 12 billion times should, in terms of size, reach 1 or 2/10 of this destructive demon god's power. But in terms of quality, the gap was too vast. As a result, no matter how many of himself faced a real high-level primordial life, there was no chance of resistance. Jumping out of the braided cage, that's a qualitative change, Luo Feng thought to himself. He now had the confidence to use 3 types of high-level primordial bloodline to jump out of the braided cage. But Luo Feng was not in a hurry to choose. He needed to first achieve perfection in the life and death Tao, allowing himself to be led by Senior Yuan and others. By then, he should know the most suitable way to jump out of the braided cage. This is a high-level primordial life, the silver-haired woman said beside him. In the infinite primordial space, low-level primordial life is countless and weak. Only high-level primordial life can garner some attention and have some effect in the camp wars. Luo Feng understood. Low-level primordial life had no role in camp wars. World-level primordial life is already a strong force on each side. Regular conflicts generally only involve world-level primordial powers, said the silver-haired woman. Luo Feng also knew high-level primordial life, world-level primordial powers, and primordial lords. These are the three major levels for cultivators after jumping out of the braided cage, with vast differences. Once the lords join the battle, the silver-haired woman's voice turned cold. It signifies the start of war. And right now, it is during wartime. Luo Feng listened. In camp wars, our losses are significant, with even vast world groups completely losing grip, and many source worlds becoming food for the innate primordial life, the silver-haired woman said indifferently. But the innate primordial life camp also suffers severe losses. The lowest level, high-level primordial life, the deaths number in the billions. We have also slain many world-level primordial life. The 7 world-level primordial corpses placed in the large primordial hall of the dark sacred realm were freshly killed in a war tens of thousands of epochs ago. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised. 7 world-level primordial life corpses, killed just tens of thousands of epochs ago? Even the primordial ancestor has been slain. The silver-haired woman looked at Luo Feng. This war is different from before. The innate primordial life camp disregards casualties and attacks at all costs, and all the cultivator camp can do is face the battle. Is the situation very bad? Luo Feng asked. Very bad. The silver-haired woman looked at Luo Feng. Cultivator Luo Feng, Fusion Dao cultivator, when you are guided, you'll know more. You know I cultivate the Fusion Dao. Luo Feng looked at her. Of course I know. The silver-haired woman gazed at Luo Feng. Every puppet life in the large primordial hall is a part of me. As the guardian of the dark sacred realm, nothing can be hidden from me. You have great potential, and in the future you will also be an important force in our cultivator camp, the silver-haired woman said, but right now, you are still too weak. She led Luo Feng forward. Luo Feng looked at the surrounding space cages, each one holding a high-level primordial life, each one bringing an intense oppressive feeling to Luo Feng. Yet these terrifying existences are but the lowest-ranked soldiers on the camp battlefield. Jumping out of the braided cage and merely becoming a high-level primordial wouldn't be valuable to the entire cultivation camp at all, Luo Feng thought, recognizing he needed to become stronger. The further he went, the more high-level primordial prisoners he saw. Facing the gaze of hundreds of high-level primordial life was also a test of spiritual will. Yet Luo Feng walked the entire path calmly. In any case, they were just a bunch of prisoners and couldn't hurt him one bit. Aside from the primordial prisoners, what else do you want to see? The silver-haired woman asked. Take a look at the corpses of the primordial life, Luo Feng said. The silver-haired woman nodded. Through the change in space-time, Luo Feng soon found himself before the corpses of high-level primordial life. In the war, the corpses of high-level primordial life were too many, and they've all been left for the cultivators to exchange, the silver-haired woman said. Just 1 trillion primordial crystals can exchange for 1 high-level primordial life corpse. Many cultivators join forces to exchange for 1 corpse. Luo Feng knew of this. 1 trillion primordial crystals for a high-level primordial life corpse might seem high. But in reality, dozens or even over 100 cultivators could jointly purchase a corpse, and after research, the materials from the corpse could earn back most of the cost, making the price not too steep. Too many corpses. Luo Feng looked at the massive corpses resembling connected mountain ranges, each one emitting a blend of resentment, despair, and anger. The congregation of so many corpses' grievances felt oppressive to Luo Feng. After a long while, he finished viewing all the high-level primordial life corpses displayed in the large primordial hall. This is... Luo Feng saw it. 7 colossal corpses, each larger than the land of origin's mainland. Compared to them, those high-level primordial life were negligible. They ranged from 5,000ths of the entire source world size of the land of origin, to a maximum of 2%. Too massive, Luo Feng looked up in awe. The hidden space within the large primordial hall can be so vast as to effortlessly contain 7 massive corpses. Facing these 7 world-level primordial life corpses, Luo Feng truly felt as if he were confronting the source world. The sense of oppression is too strong. At this level, I'm afraid a mere glance could turn me to ashes. Yet in the war between camps, they still perished. Even thousands of high-level primordial lives can't withstand a single move in front of a world-level primordial, the silver-haired woman said. The gap between major levels is immense. Luo Feng nodded, he could see that. On the camp battlefield, even primordial ancestors have fallen. Only the lords from our cultivator camp have never died in battle, the silver-haired woman said confidently. The war between the two camps has lasted for endless ages, even though we are currently at an absolute disadvantage. But I believe ultimately, we the cultivators will win, because our lords are undying. Luo Feng knew that some primordial ancestors indeed perished in battle. The blood scale of his star tower came from one such primordial ancestor. The lords are undying, yet we're still at an absolute disadvantage. Luo Feng couldn't help but speak, even our people admit to being at an absolute disadvantage, how disadvantaged must we be? The silver-haired woman hesitated slightly, then sighed softly. Once you're guided, you'll understand, the silver-haired woman didn't explain further. The only boast-worthy aspect of the cultivator camp is that our lords are undying. It allows cultivators to still believe in eventual victory and to fight without reservation. At this moment, Luo Feng knew the cultivator camp was at a disadvantage but wasn't very clear on the real situation within the infinite primordial space. Later, Luo Feng observed various treasures and secret treasures. As long as they were stored in a large primordial hall, he'd seen them all. You've seen all the treasures and secret treasures, the silver-haired woman looked at Luo Feng, is there anything you want to redeem? Treasures valued over 10 million battle merits aren't stored here. Luo Feng asked. The redemption prices for secret treasures ranged from 10,000 to 50 million battle merits. Yes, the large primordial hall continuously stores only secret treasures below 10 million battle merits, the silver-haired woman said. As for those above 10 million battle merits, each one is immensely valuable, possibly equivalent to a world-level primordial life corpse. So they are specially stored, not in the dark sacred realm. Luo Feng understood. He had noticed. Treasures valued above 10 million battle merits correspond to secret treasures worth more than 100,000 infinite space reward points, not lesser than the Eye of Life and Death. Some may even be more precious. Each cultivator can only purchase one secret treasure above 10 million battle merits, and trading is prohibited, Luo Feng sighed inwardly. The infinite space reward point redemption doesn't limit the number of purchases but restricts point acquisition. You can study it carefully. The silver-haired woman smiled slightly, then left. Luo Feng returned to the cave mansion within the large primordial hall, ready to redeem treasures and secret treasures anytime, and studied the detailed information of each secret treasure above 10 million battle merits. My life and death Tao has gone slightly astray. As Luo Feng accumulated more insights, he realized this too. My cultivation path is most deeply influenced by the Star Tower. Back on the land of origin, I meticulously observed that blood scale. It was like a beacon in the dark, guiding my way. Luo Feng frowned. But in that blood-colored scale, the secret patterns I observed showed 34.2% life-related, while destruction-related merely occupied 9.2%. Using it as guidance led my life and death Tao to lean more towards life. Luo Feng pursued the ultimate immense life form, then transformed its power into destruction, naturally possessing immense destructive prowess. Yet this path inherently leans more towards life. In the Divine King stage of cultivation, it already favors life. Strictly speaking, my life and death Tao is 70% life and 30% destruction combined. From the very beginning, influenced by the Star Tower, my direction skewed. I can't retrace my steps, I can only forge ahead. Luo Feng understood clearly, there's no such thing as a wrong path. Even pure life can aim for the highest level. 70% life, 30% destruction can still reach half primordial, still able to proceed further. I still need a secret treasure that aligns with the blood scale of the Star Tower to corroborate each other, Luo Feng thought. Corroborating each other can also broaden his horizons. This secret treasure needs to possess the mystique of the primordial ancestor level, containing life and death, yet inclined towards destruction, Luo Feng considered. The blood-colored scale centers on life. The other treasure should focus on destruction. With both for reference, his life and death Tao could be pursued more smoothly. From this angle, it should be this one. Luo Feng took a fancy to one of the secret treasures. Sky-splitting saber, a weapon naturally nurtured in a mysterious land within the infinite primordial space, containing the highest level destruction mystique, yet amid endless terrifying destruction, it harbors vitality. This saber, suitable for cultivators of the destruction path and life path to redeem, requires 30 million battle merits for exchange. Containing the highest level destruction mystique, yet harboring vitality. With destruction dominant and life supplementary? This is it. Luo Feng chose it. He indeed favored sabers but had never encountered a suitable saber-type secret treasure. This time he finally found it. Cultivator Luo Feng, are you sure you want to redeem the sky-splitting saber? A gentle voice arose. I'm sure, Luo Feng replied. The sky-splitting saber, should it be transmitted to the dark sacred realm or your homeland, the source world? The gentle voice asked. Although the sky-splitting saber isn't crafted from innate primordial life materials, its value is extremely high, posing potential risks outside the source world. Transmit it to my homeland source world, Luo Feng said. Origin continent, origin world, Huyang City, city owner's mansion. Inside the Star Tower. Luo Feng has been here for a long time using the Wisdom Book and Eye of Life and Death to study those high-level primordial bloodlines, as he had long understood the low-level primordial bloodlines completely. However, he had only researched about 70% of the high-level primordial bloodlines, with only 3 portions now. Luo Feng felt an invisible fluctuation descending, and a weapon appeared out of thin air before him. The treasures exchanged with infinite space reward points were also summoned in this way. This saber? Luo Feng held his breath the moment he saw the saber. This saber was pitch black throughout, with its powers concentrated within the blade. Just seeing it, Luo Feng felt an awe similar to watching the Star Tower blood scale, supreme and unmatched. Its level of power even reminded Luo Feng of the source world origin. Is this saber also one I can wield? Luo Feng cautiously reached out to grasp the handle. The saber did not resist at all. Luo Feng grasped the saber. What a terrifying saber! As Luo Feng held the saber, he vaguely understood that even though he was just a life within a braided cage, if he were to swing the saber, those high-level primordial lives would probably be instantly obliterated. This saber contained the highest level of destructive power, making it a highly coveted weapon for world-level primordial experts. Due to the cultivator camp's limited number of world-level primordial lives, while the spoils from camp wars were plentiful, at this critical moment of life and death, Senior Yuan and others finally opened up these treasures to the cultivators. As long as your talent is sufficiently high, these treasures are exchangeable. If a cultivator dies, these treasures will still be reclaimed. Different from the blood scale inside the Star Tower, which is ultimately just a scale, incapable of exerting strong power. This saber, however, was naturally bred by the infinite primordial space, inherently possessing terrifying destructive power. Holding the saber, Luo Feng felt like a small mouse touching the buttons of a nuclear weapon. With a casual swing, it could destroy heaven and earth, with the source world likely to fall into great destruction. I'm too weak. Before breaking free from the braided cage, it can only serve to enlighten me. Luo Feng understood this point, which was also why he exchanged for this saber. He intended to use it for cultivation. To cross-reference with the Star Tower blood scale. Let's take a look. The Eye of Life and Death on Luo Feng's forehead opened. He didn't rush to use the Wisdom Book, instead seeking to view the interior of this sky-splitting saber first. Buzz. Inside the sky-splitting saber was an endless web of secret patterns. What is this? Luo Feng gazed at the magnificent, infinite web of secret patterns, and with his understanding of life and destruction, almost instantly determined that the secret patterns he saw were divided into only 2 categories. One category was destruction, constituting around 89%. The other category was life, constituting around 11%. Just 2 categories of secret patterns. Luo Feng felt a bit dazed. After having researched many primordial bloodlines and studied the Eye of Life and Destruction, as well as the Star Tower blood scale, which contain many categories of secret patterns. This is what makes a weapon. The secret patterns are very pure. Luo Feng marveled. Exactly what I wanted, destruction as the main part, life as the secondary part. As he carefully observed, Luo Feng harnessed his own powers to refine this saber. The saber, already prepared by Senior Yuan and others, was easy to refine, taking merely half a day for him to succeed. The moment refining succeeded. As Luo Feng held the saber, destructive aura rose from the saber's surface, while destructive aura rose from Luo Feng's body. The person and saber seemed to become one. It feels as though I naturally became part of the saber. Luo Feng murmured, it should be that my realm is too low to perfectly control the saber. Instead, I'm being influenced by it. Holding the saber, Luo Feng's mind sensed a presence in an extremely distant place. That place was very far from the origin continent origin world. Even further away than the dark sacred realm by who knows how many times. In the telepathic sensing of Luo Feng's many avatars, there was only one feeling. The mysterious place sensed at this moment was extremely far away. Who tilde. At that mysterious place, Luo Feng faintly sensed endless destruction aura and, in vagueness, perceived one weapon after another, each weapon in various forms, each giving Luo Feng a feeling not inferior to the sky-splitting saber. Numerous weapons were hidden there. Compared to that mysterious place, the destructive aura contained within the sky-splitting saber couldn't even compare to a mere fraction. Sky-splitting saber should have been conceived here. Holding the saber, Luo Feng instinctively had this perception, sensing that the sky-splitting saber in his hand had a sense of belonging to that place, as that was the sky-splitting saber's homeland. In the future, if I break free from this braided cage and if my strength is enough, I must find a chance to see it. Luo Feng felt great curiosity about that place. Then stopped pondering further. Resuming the use of the wisdom book to study the sky-splitting saber. As the owner of the sky-splitting saber, the saber did not defend against him, allowing the wisdom book to uncover numerous secrets. So, using destruction as a core, the integration of life and destruction can go so far. Looking at the countless layers of space contained within the pages of the wisdom book, which continuously displayed the secret pattern diagrams of the sky-splitting saber, the secret pattern diagrams emerged repeatedly, even changing over time. I've seen another path for life and destruction fusion. Luo Feng murmured. The most brilliant secret pattern diagram he had seen before was that of the Star Tower blood scale. There, Luo Feng saw the path using life as the main focus and destruction as the assistant. When life was powerful enough, a simple gesture could yield infinite might. It was very easy to have extremely strong power in destruction. His life and death Tao was traveling this path. In truth, using destruction as the core with life as assistance also leads to the highest level. Luo Feng now saw this path, the path displayed by the sky-splitting saber. Using life as a guide, it instead brings ultimate destruction. Every strand of vitality can trigger destruction exponentially billions of times. Billion-fold destructive energy can still cause chain reactions, continuing to evoke countless folds of destructive energy. That's true destruction of everything. It's too crazy. Such destruction to the end might even be self-destructive. Luo Feng murmured, this is the Tao carried by weapons. Primordial life itself is probably very difficult to carry such a Tao. Any primordial life must first be alive themselves. So those primordial bloodlines will contain life-type secret patterns. No matter how skilled in destruction, primordial life will also contain secret patterns of other Taos. It can't be as extreme as weapons. My original path is correct, the life and death Tao should primarily focus on life. Luo Feng thought, however, I can still absorb some mysteries of destruction and integrate them to perfect my path. A new world unfolded in front of him, and Luo Feng couldn't help but immerse himself in it. Dark sacred realm, inside a large primordial hall. Limited to buying one secret treasure, he redeemed the sky-splitting saber. 2 high-level primordial lives were also constantly observing Luo Feng. We high-level primordial lives will receive strong cultivation support during the walker phase. But once becoming high-level primordial life, the resources given to us rapidly decrease. The woman in the fiery red robe gently shook her head. For instance, I don't even qualify to exchange for this sky-splitting saber. All the opportunities meant for you are already given. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man said, in the end, you became a high-level primordial life by ultimate bloodline awakening. How could the Lords possibly continue to cultivate you intensely? The woman in the fiery red robe nodded. She understood too. High-level primordial life, in the camp wars, is merely insignificant soldiers. High-level primordial lives are categorized. If they comprehend bloodline mysteries and directly break through, they still receive enough cultivation support. For those like them, hoping to become world-level primordials can be nearly ignored. Luo Feng's potential is far greater than ours. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man Qiu Ji said, as a fusion Dao cultivator, the strength he has demonstrated is stronger than some fusion Dao cultivators I know. The Lord mentioned that Luo Feng has gone to extremes. He is not pursuing the balance of life and destruction but instead pursuing the massive extent of life, which greatly increases the difficulty of integrating life and destruction. Yufei said, but at the same time, once successful, the strength becomes evidently more powerful. His walking out of the dark sacred realm. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man slightly smiled. We are the garrison commanders of the dark sacred realm. If we don't help him now, when he jumps out of the braided cage, we won't have the qualification to help him anymore. Yufei's mind was moved. Fusion Dao cultivators, extremely talented, mostly likely to become world-level primordials. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man said, by then, he might support us and deploy us under his command, so our days will be more favorable. Yufei nodded. How do we help? He should be nearing a breakthrough but missing a crucial part. Let's pick a suitable opponent for him. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man smiled. Among over 30,000 imprisoned high-level primordial lives, choose the most suitable opponent. Helping him break through, the causality is enough. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man said, if he still doesn't break through, we will think of other ways. Let's go. Yufei nodded. They both clearly understood that currently, they are high-level primordial lives, but in the future, they would be looking up to Luo Feng. Whoosh! They arrived at the time-space cage deep within the large primordial hall. One by one, the imprisoned high-level primordial lives also saw them. We are preparing to select a primordial prisoner to send to the wilds of the dark sacred realm. This primordial prisoner will also be granted temporary freedom. Qiu Ji swept his gaze coldly. Who wants to go for such a good thing? These imprisoned high-level primordial lives, upon hearing this, felt a bit frightened. Exiled out? Once exiled and strength sealed, ultimately, they'll be surrounded and killed by those weaker walkers. These primordial prisoners all understood this point. Exile means impending death. In the wilds of the dark sacred realm, occasionally, a primordial prisoner will appear. With the walker's exploration ability in the wilds, why does occasionally one primordial prisoner emerge? Also with sealed strength? It is clearly intentionally released. Two garrison commanders, I am willing to join the cultivator camp and surrender my life core for refinement. One mass of large black mist spoke. Join? Qiu Ji and Yufei both looked at this group of prisoners with a smirk. Don't even think about it. Last time, during the Lord's large-scale recruitment, tens of millions captured innate high-level primordial lives chose to submit, their life cores were refined, and they forever became part of our cultivator camp. If you didn't submit back then, it is too late now being sent to various sacred realms. Qiu Ji sneered. Too late? Many of these innate primordial lives were recently sent, not too aware. Only the Lords can perform life core refinement. Hence, only during the Lord's recruitment is the only chance for submission. Qiu Ji sneered. Your strength is quite good, and amongst over 30,000 prisoners, your size is the largest. Yufei suddenly walked to a spatial cage, looking at the imposing and massive fiery red rock life inside. Good fortune to be exiled to the dark sacred realm, you're the one. I'm exiled? The massive fiery red rock life was taken aback. Your strength should be sealed a bit more. Xiao immediately used the command token beside and quickly increased the restraints on this primordial prisoner. This primordial prisoner's strength was rapidly suppressed and sealed, even its size quickly shrank, and its aura also weakened increasingly. Falling out of the high-level primordial level, and its strength continued to be suppressed. Moments later, its visible aura barely even surpassed Divine Emperor Jiku. The other primordial prisoners looked at it, feeling complex. They understood clearly that exile meant death. I will die. The fiery red rock prisoner gazed at the two garrison commanders, but in this war, your whole cultivator camp will be completely destroyed, all territories trampled by us. Ultimately, perhaps only those few lords will survive lonely, but every territory will become our hunting grounds. Just watch. The silver-haired and silver-eyebrowed man sneered, reached out his hand, and with the fiery red rock life fully sealed, it shrank and sat in his palm. The two garrison commanders took this primordial prisoner and promptly left. The remaining over 30,000 primordial prisoners watched this scene with complex thoughts but understood that being imprisoned, they could only be at others' mercy. A wilderness in the dark sacred realm. Swoosh! Space fluctuated, and a giant of fiery red rock appeared on the ground, looking around with a fierce gaze. Exiled? Am I to be besieged by those weak cultivators? It felt an endless rage and unwillingness in its heart. As a high-level primordial life, was it really to be dismembered by the ants within the braided cage? It even wanted to commit suicide at this moment, but ever since becoming a prisoner, even suicide was impossible. It had become the spoils of war for the cultivator camp, a resource for them. Cultivators would study its body materials and bloodline mysteries, even use it for artifact refining, crafting auxiliary treasures. Every part of its body would be utilized by the cultivators to the highest efficiency. Cultivators! It let out an angry low growl. The fiery red on its body surface became even more dazzling, the rock on its surface began to melt, and its aura surged. However, the suppression power erupted, and illusory chains penetrating its body appeared, one end of which penetrated its body and the other linked to the void, suppressing it with infinite earthly force. Cultivators, all your territories will be flattened, except for a few lords. All other cultivators will become our food. It was filled with hatred, yet had nowhere to vent. It walked step by step in the wilderness, enduring endless suppressive force with every step. Despicable race! Damn race! It glared around, filled with intense hatred and murderous intent. Until one day, a long time later, a team of cultivators was hunting outside. Look, what's that? Inside the flying boat, there were 7 cultivators, each at the half-primordial enlightened level. Using their investigation secret technique, they had already glimpsed that endless fiery power. The primordial prisoner, filled with endless rage and hatred, had molten lava flowing on its body surface, flames surging, and a terrifyingly fierce aura. It's a primordial prisoner. The 7 cultivators immediately recognized it. Even from a distance, they could feel the terrible aura of the primordial prisoner. Although its aura was forcibly suppressed, the essence of the aura far surpassed that of cultivators. It was the aura of high-level primordial life. We've actually discovered a primordial prisoner. It said their power is completely sealed, so their movement speed is relatively slow, making them suitable for siege. Let's give it a try. Be careful, keep a distance. This cultivator team began to perform formations, launching attacks from a distance against the molten prisoner. Various formation attacks were unleashed, whether void-like entanglement or annihilation by earthly power. But the molten prisoner sat there motionless, allowing these attacks like scratching an itch. Despicable ants. The molten prisoner glanced over. Even though its power was completely suppressed, it was released to be an opponent for Luo Feng. To it, ordinary cultivator teams indeed amounted to nothing. It suddenly stood up. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. Illusory chains appeared on its body surface. The suppression and sealing made it unable to fly, forcing it to run in large strides. As it ran, the earth trembled. It furiously charged toward the cultivator team. As long as the distance was closed, with one strike, it could incinerate a void. Quick, run! It's a very strong primordial prisoner. Even together we can't harm it in the slightest. This cultivator team was also experienced, knowing that primordial prisoners occasionally appearing in the dark sacred realm varied in strength. The weak ones, their team could injure as well. Dozens of pinnacle existences could join hands to slaughter them. But this molten prisoner was clearly very powerful. We must call for stronger cultivators. This information can also be reported to Luo Feng, Divine Emperor. These cultivators piloted the flying boat and quickly fled into the distance, while the molten prisoner, unable to fly, could only stop, resentfully watching them from afar. Only a day later, tens of thousands of half-primordial enlightened level, over 100 pinnacle existences, Divine Emperor Jiku, Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch had all arrived, and they had formed a super grand array. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch, the top formation expert in the dark sacred realm, was the array host. His spiritual will potent enough to masterfully control the entire formation, harmonizing the power of each cultivator. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. The power of the formation astonished and awed the cultivators, who also felt proud to be a part of it. This overwhelming formation turned into a terrifying blade, slashing at the molten prisoner's neck, leaving only slight marks that quickly healed as lava flowed over them. Furthermore, lightning bolts condensed from within the formation, striking down with a power that terrified every cultivator, repeatedly hitting the molten prisoner. The prisoner's body was too robust. After all, it was selected by Qiu Ji and Yufeiya as one of the largest primordial prisoners. How is this possible? Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch, Divine Emperor Jiku couldn't believe it. The molten prisoner withstood their united attack from the formation of over 10,000 cultivators, with at most minor injuries that healed instantly. So many of us together can't do anything to it. The dark sacred realm has never seen such a strong primordial prisoner. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch and Divine Emperor Jiku exchanged glances. They had long understood that the primordial prisoner was intentionally released by a cultivator who escaped the braided cage, but this time the one released was especially powerful. It was indeed a bit absurd that even with the cooperation of tens of thousands of cultivators, they couldn't handle it. It was probably released because of Luo Feng, Divine Emperor. Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch communicated telepathically. Brother Longju, your formation is unparalleled in the dark sacred realm. Such a formation should be able to match Luo Feng, Divine Emperor Jiku said.